Hi, I'm Ezra Levant. I'm the author of a new book called Shakedown. It's about how Canada's human rights commissions actually aren't for human rights at all. They're hurting our human rights. I know it sounds crazy, but believe me, I've lived through it for 900 days. I was prosecuted by one of these human rights commissions. The book's my story and stories of dozens of other people I found out as I did my research. Well, I wrote it, I guess, as some sort of therapy for this crazy fight I'd been in. I mean, I was ground under by these human rights commissions for almost 3 years, and I did all this research as I learned about them and how unfair it was, and I read about other cases of other people, and I thought, I want to do something with this. I had been blogging about it, but people said, put it together in a book. And so the book became a bit of a campaign document, my way of fighting back. Instead of being negative, I want to do something positive. The book is really a manifesto for reform. I think any campaign for reform has two parts. Step one is you got to let people know there's a problem, and step two is to solve it. You can't do it in the reverse order. So this is part of step one. I mean, I joked when I said it was some sort of personal mission. I guess it was, but more than that, I want to teach people how crazy these human rights commissions are. Show that they're not normal. I call it denormalization. Human rights commissions have been around for 30 years, and they got a beautiful name, Human Rights Commission. I mean, who could be against that? But in the book, I prove that they're not for human rights. They're very un-Canadian. That's what I want to do. I have so many crazy stories in there that are the reality of human rights commissions. Once people read that, they'll know that they're counterfeit human rights commissions. And then we can move to step two, which is let's get the politicians to act. You know what should happen to these human rights commissions? There's 14 of them across the country, one in every province, territory, and there's a federal one. I think they should be pulled out by the roots, weeded out. That might be too ambitious a goal, so if we can't weed them out, maybe we should prune them back. For example, a lot of them have a censorship provision that attacks free speech. We should definitely repeal that. There's other things wrong with their procedures. For example, they don't have the normal rules that we have in a real court. Here's a quick example. They're not run by judges who know the law. They're run by lawyers or people who don't even have a law degree. That's terrifying that people without an understanding of the law are making legal decisions. If you're poor and you're hauled before a Human Rights Commission, you don't get legal aid. That's another example of how they're unfair. There's about 10 ways in which Human Rights Commissions operate that are more like kangaroo courts than Canadian courts. You know what I'm worried about? I mean, I'm a noisy fellow who's made a big fuss about this, but I'm worried that if we don't get the reforms done soon, the fuss will die down and these human rights commissions will go on being the badly behaved organizations they have been. This public scrutiny is the best thing that's ever happened because it's shone a light on the bad behavior. Now's the time to act, to strike while the iron's hot. If we let things cool off, these human rights commissions will have weathered the storm. That'll be terrible in terms of civil liberties. I know it sounds trite, but the number one thing people can do about this is to get informed about the craziness that's going on in the name of human rights. Because I think the stories are so nutty that when people hear them, they'll tell 10 people how crazy the human rights commissions are. And that's how you spread word of mouth and build a buzz that reform is necessary. Once people know, once they're armed with the ammo, the facts, then they can press politicians to act. That's where we got to move, is from awareness and knowledge of the problem to getting the people to make the changes, and those people are, you know, provincial and federal politicians. Sure, you know, this book is the product not just of me writing the book, but me living through a fight with the Human Rights Commissions for about 3 years. And I not only tell my own story, which is a crazy story. I was the only person in the world charged with a legal offense for publishing cartoons. I mean, that's just crazy time. So it's my own story, but it's also the story of dozens of other people. So the book, I think, is a great ammo, and it's a fun gift for people who are politically aware, or even people who don't care about politics but just can't believe how stupid government can be. And in the book, in the last chapter, I talk about what we can do. If you've read the book and if you're revved up, come to my website. I write about human rights commissions almost every day. They do something dumb almost on a daily basis. So I'm always blogging about them at EzraLevant.com. So it's a way to freshen the book up. The book was published and is very up to date, but every day there's more crazy news. And, you know, I think people can actually take action, not just be passive consumers of this news. They can act. I mean, they can write letters to their politicians, call into talk shows. If they hear someone saying the word Human Rights Commission, they should say, oh, you know what, let me tell you a story about Human Rights Commissions, and just let her rip. So I think that this is actually a time for ordinary Canadians, severely normal Canadians, to take back one of our ancient liberties. Now's the time to do it.